All right, y'all, we're taking a look at this boudoir photography business today. Gonna see if it has BSS for these two Google searches. All right, so we're back in the GBC universe. We're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. And as always, our North Star here is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More about that, pin video up on the top, homepage, wherever. Now, this is because FSIC explains that all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got in white down there, our intent. Basically our intent spectrum, highest intent on the left, lowest intent over on the right. And so if a boudoir photography business is rising, it's most likely bringing in peeps from the entire intent spectrum, the whole length. And if it's if a boudoir photography business is falling, then most likely it's missing, not bringing in, some cohort of people. Now, the highest 10 people over on the left are doing things like Google search, social media search, like a boudoir photo shoot in their city, like right now. And those people are fastest to money, highest to convert. We talk about that with BSS here in our videos. And then our sister brand, way at the end over there, name is Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. That's where we are talking about BLCS. But right now, we're only currently working with the boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. So on to BSS. BSS is Boudoir Search Sameness. As when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google for the highest intent buyer keywords in their city. And so 0 slots is awful. I mean, we're basically dead at that point. That's because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never even reach page 2. So 80% of Google searches literally, one and done Google searches, or page 1 and done Google searches. So if we're on page 2, only approximately 20% of searches of people searching will ever even find us. And page 1 slot, that's not good either. Or 1 slot on page 1. I mean, it's better, but we're still basically invisible because guess what? There's 10 organic slots on page 1. If we got one of them, then there's basically 9 other boudoir photographers with 1 slot. Best scenario. Worst scenario is if another boudoir photographer is like 2 or 3, and then we're going to really never get looked at. So let's say everyone has 1. And guess what a buyer's doing? They're going down, clicking open everyone's link on page 1, because approximately 80% of buyers ain't even hitting page 2. And guess what? They're contacting everyone on page 1, getting a quote from everyone, comparing, price gets shoved down through the roof or down through the floor. And kind of steals margin from everyone. So 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google? No, that's BSS. We cannot deal with any of that. And that's because 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google is actually not normal. It's actually a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. So it's super common, it's accepted, but symptom 2 deeper root causes, and those are market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, yeah, basically everyone knows this. It's like, seems like every week somebody gets a new iPhone, and then they're throwing up their Google My Business profile on their websites and the National Boudoir. That's kind of taking competition, page 1 organic slots away from us. And or someone gets a camera, and they're posting to the mom groups in the National Boudoir. Also, big wave of this happened during COVID. People lost their jobs, it's out there in money. So as a result, everyone's got a smartphone and an awesome camera. So pretty easy people to say that they now for boudoir. But what that does increase the supply of boudoir photographers, but the number of buyers remains the same. So it makes it harder for every seller, every boudoir photographer to be getting those clients. All right, so everyone knows that. Basically, everyone knows that. Basically, nobody knows about this second thing, which is the false belief of page 1 equality. So that is kind of boudoir photographers kind of automatically assuming without even questioning that every boudoir photographer is entitled, to like either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And, maybe there's slot 8 on page 1 of Google with their website. So new boudoir photographers came in, ranked higher, and got pushed out to page 2. And it's like, oh, well, every boudoir photographer gets 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. It is what it is. And basically, they're believing there's nothing that can be done about it. This is 100% incorrect. And I know this for a fact because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on Google, on page 1 of Google, to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in only 10 days with this new strategy we're going to show you all today, or that I'll describe today. And it's kind of like we got to break through the mental barrier of accepting this as a false belief. And then once we do that, we can see, okay, there is a solution out there that we'll get to in like 2 pictures here. Okay, we can use this to actually literally get as many page 1 slots on Google as we want to put in the effort for. Next, a boudoir photographer BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. So disappearing boudoir photographer. Basically, if we got 0 1 slots on page 1 on Google, we're disappearing because we're either on page 2 or deeper, and approximately 8% of searchers are never going to find us, and that's the bulk of the market that we care about. And if we got 1 slot on page 1 on Google, we're being price shopped against the other 9, destroying our margins. We're basically invisible anyways. And we care about this because a disappearing boudoir photographer is the warning light. It's kind of the the red flag going up, where the disappearing boudoir photographer precedes the boudoir photography business itself disappearing. So that's why we care about that. And we got our micro universe here. We got disappearing with boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness. It's caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page one the false belief of page one equality, where we accept it's a false belief. So we're like, okay, now what's the solution? Boom, we finally got a solution. But through our testing, we've learned that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And we know this works because we invented it. It's what I use to go from 0 out of 10 slots, page one of Google, to 9 out of 10 slots, page one of Google, in only 10 days. And I mean, it works exactly as it's described. We saturate social search with the highest intent keywords, pick up as many slots on social as possible on social search, and that kind of acts as like the backside of the Andes Mountains in South America, where the streams, the small rivers from the backside of the Andes Mountains actually all flow together to the Amazon River, and into the big Amazon River. That big Amazon River is like page one of Google, and so, but it all starts with social search saturation. That's where it all stems from. And the cool thing about this is the only solution I've ever seen for boudoir photographers that can successfully fight against market saturation, so maintain the business and not decline, but also still grow in the face of market saturation. And for it to happen relatively quickly, and those at least visible results of getting on page one of Google to happen relatively quickly. The only other solution that I have seen is having a strong brand, but that takes 5 to 10 years, which doesn't satisfy the relatively quickly criteria that we need. Because we're in the AI, AI taking peep shops. We gotta get as much slots on page one as Google as possible before AI starts taking people's jobs. And I mean, it's pretty easy to see S-cubed methodology can do this. So imagine we're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and there's 1 million boudoir photographers. Everyone's got their websites and they shoot boudoir. So page one competition is insanely crazy. And let's say we take, we see that and we say, okay, we got to take S-cubed methodology to the max. So what we actually do is we actually do S-cubed methodology so hard that we're like the first 300 slots on social search for the highest intent keywords, highest intent buyer keywords for boudoir in our city across all the social networks. And then let's say that flows onto Google, and we're taking like the first 300 slots on Google for the highest intent keywords for boudoir buyers in our city. And it's 10 organic slots per page on Google. So we're really taking out the first 30 pages on Google. So anytime any buyer looks up, types in a high intent buyer keyword into Google, or even any of the social networks, they're only seeing us. They basically got to go to like page 31 on Google to essentially find any of our competitors. And so once that happens, then basically once that happens, and buyers can essentially only find us. They only see us. Who are they going to go with? Obviously us, whose business will be growing, even though there's 999,999 other boudoir photographers. Obviously us, and whose business will be dying and disappearing because they essentially cannot be found at all for anyone searching. All our competitors. So again, this is why I said S-cubed methodology is the only thing I've seen that helps boudoir photographers maintain and still grow their business in the face of market saturation. That happens, or I can get on page one of Google relatively quickly, way faster than brand. In my estimation, I could probably build that brand about 8x faster than normally because we show up so much more on so many other surfaces. Now, once you're with S-cubed methodology, we now have page one visibility. So we got multiple slots on page one of Google as an initial benefit. Second initial benefit is every new slot we get on page one of Google, we're actually kicking one of our competitors at that slot, push them off to page one or deeper, making so approximately 80% of Google searches can never find them. So we turn them into disappearing boudoir photographers, where if they stay there, they're eventually going to exit, be kicked out of the market. So this is an awesome, second initial benefit of using S-cubed methodology. So we're making other peeps invisible. And page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So BSV, we actually, this is where our GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page one of Google comes in. So GBC universe recommends 3 out of 10 slots page one of Google because basically every other boudoir photographer page one of Google will have 1 out of 10 slots or 1 slot. So if we see 3, or if a buyer sees 3, they're kind of subconsciously going to think, why is Google recommending this person so much? I guess I'll click into them and may not even click on any of our competitors. And second reason GBC Universe recommends 3 out of 10 as the minimum, because there's a tiny, tiny, tiny chance another boudoir photographer can have 2, which means we also got to be able to dominate them in that case as well, with us having 3. So, and the recommendation of 3 is basically if we got 3 out of 10 page one on Google, we're basically guaranteeing we're not declining. So we're guaranteeing we're either, you know, treading water, so maintaining the business, or growing the business. Most likely growing the business, but at least we're at least not declining. That's like the big goal here. And finally, Boudoir photographer with Boudoir search visibility is a visible Boudoir photographer. So we got our full micro universe here. A disappearing Boudoir photographer with Boudoir search sameness is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page one and the false belief, page one equality. Now we have the solution S cubed methodology. We achieve page one visibility, become a visible Boudoir photographer with Boudoir search visibility. All right, now my results doing this. So I wanted to rank for the term BLCS Boudoir. So I know, okay, the exact thing I do for that is S cubed methodology. I want to have as many slots page one Google as possible. Let's go down the organic slots. And we got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 9, no, I'm not slot 9. Slot 10, me. So, dude, I went from 0 out of 10 slots to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in only 10 days, purely using S cubed methodology. So these are the results I've gotten for myself with it. So we're not going to say if this boudoir photography business has BSS, yes or no, for these 2 Google searches. So let's see. Boom. All right. Santa Clara, San Jose. All right, right here. So Santa Clara. All right, so let's see. We got 1 out of 10. And that. And, well, we got 1 out of 10. I mean, we got the Google, but we don't get that as Google, the 10 organic slots. So we got 1 out of 10. Dang. Yeah, no, I know actually Santa Clara is right in the middle of San Jose, so that actually makes sense. More kind of keyword overlap competing for these slots. So yeah, dude, we got BSS here with well search sameness. We're simply looking at the 10 organic slots. Now let's also look at San Jose. All right, so we got 1 out of 10. We got all right. We got 1 out of 10 again. So we got BSS. All right, so we got BSS for both searches. We're at 1 out of 10 for both. And so, yeah, we got BSS, and also we did not hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page 1 slots to really get that boudoir search visibility. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer and you want to, so you've done the local searches, you've done your city search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords in your city, you see you got 0 slots page 1 on Google, either one or both of them, or you're not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google for one or both of them, and you've accepted the belief, the false belief of page 1 equality is exactly that, a false belief, and you understand now that we can actually take as many page 1 slots on Google search as we want, and you see an S cubed methodology is the only way, the only path for you to get you there, and you've been waiting for something like S cubed methodology for a while, and you're liking the initial benefits, more slots page 1 on Google, and you really like competing boudoir photographers off page 1 on Google, making them invisible to approximately 80% of Google searches. You really like that one. Those initial benefits, sure. You understand the market saturation, yeah. New gear, new peeps, boudoir photographers entering all the time, getting more and more difficult over all the time, and you're seeing that you're actually looking ahead and you're seeing AI taking more and more people's jobs. And the last time that happened with COVID, people losing jobs, well, people still had to earn money. So they were actually forced to become boudoir photographers because, everyone's got a superpowered smartphone with a superpowered camera. So kind of the next natural thing, become boudoir photographer. And you're seeing that's going to happen in a much bigger wave over the, as AI takes more and more people's jobs. So not only do you need these slots on Google, you actually need like so many backup links that Google wants to rank on page 1 for you, but there's not enough room, so they're ranking you page 2, 3, and 4. Like basically you need to fortify your positions on page 1 with like so many backup links that no current competing boudoir photographer ever has any chance to rank on page 1. nor any future competing boudoir photographer who came in because AI took their job can ever have a chance of ranking on page one. And kind of like fortifying your position, kind of like fortifying the levees down in Nolens, Louisiana, the lowest, because the city is actually below sea level. And you're seeing SQ methodology, the only thing that can help you fortify your position with so many backup links that are needed. You're also understanding that with SQ methodology, we're building up basically invisible thematic keyword columns around kind of attached to your brand name, business name, website name, social handles names, kind of like this whole, keyword cluster ecosystem in the back end of AI Mindshare. And every day we successfully execute SQ methodology and add to those invisible thematic keyword columns that we're actually increasing the probability we show up here in AI overview, the most premium placement out there that we cannot pay for, and Google can recommend us here. We're also increasing the probability every single day of executing SQ methodology that AI search recommends us. So it's ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. Increased probability showing up in those searches every single day. We successfully execute SQ methodology. And last time I searched for boudoir photographer in a city, it was with ChatGPT and it displayed 3. And I went and manually searched on Google and Facebook, and dude, there were like 60. So you're saying, and I was like, man, we gotta get part of these slots any way possible. So you're actually wanting to all those feature benefits as well as estimated 8x faster growing a brand, a large well-known brand, to further insulate yourself from market saturation. And you also understand that my current plan is to work with only one boudoir photographer per city. And as a result, you're seeing you can get all these benefits and most importantly, build up so much kind of like back-end AI mindshare momentum with all these invisible thematic keyword columns attached to your brand and AI mindshare space that you are able to build up a gap so large that basically no current competing boudoir photographer can ever reach you, nor any future competing boudoir photographer coming from AI because AI took their job can ever catch you. So you decide to be a first mover in your city. Take advantage of this because the converse, whoever a competing boudoir photographer actually signs on with me first in your same city, means we're going to be kicking you off page 1, maybe even page 2. You'll be resigned to page 3 or deeper. And we'll be fortifying them on page 1. So your chance of getting back up page 1 will be close to 0. And the boudoir photographers come from AI taking their jobs, their normal jobs, and they have become boudoir photographers. That's always going to keep increasing. So it may push you off deeper into further and further pages. And we'll actually be building up a massive gap of AI mindshare, back-end AI mindshare with all these invisible thematic keyword columns that will probably be too large for you to overcome. And for you to overcome that, you'd have to actually rederive SQ methodology by yourself. Well, you'd have to derive it the first time, and you would never feel 100% confident you've derived it correctly the first time. Then you'd have to execute it every single day, same as us. But if you did all that, you'd simply be maintaining the gap, me and your competitor, that large gap, me and your competitor would have already built up against you. So in order to close that gap and to kind of pull that invisible thematic keyword column back-end AI mindshare towards you away from us, you'd probably have to double or triple our execution every single day. And it'll be difficult to put in that effort because, again, you're not going to feel 100% confident you've even derived the methodology correctly in the first place. And dude, who even has 80 days to do or 80 hours in a day to do all this stuff? So you're seeing all that and you're like, screw this. I'm actually going to be the first mover in my city, get the advantage, and lock out all my competitors from using this technology. So if that's you, shoot us a DM. Our DMs are currently closed. The hospital's not currently accepting new patients. But when our DMs do open, then shoot us a DM and we will see if you qualify for utilizing S cubed methodology.